I can feel related.
Okay, so welcome everyone, and welcome to our AskILite Learning Design Special Interest Group webinar series. I will just get started with acknowledgement of the country. So on behalf of Learning Design Special Interest Group, AskILite, I acknowledge the traditional owner of the land on which we meet. We pay our respects to past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people attending this webinar, as well as watching the recording later on. So the people who, most of you would know what AskILite is. It's Australian Society for Computers in Learning in Tertiary Education. It's a body that runs lots of small initiatives, small, big initiatives. SIGs, the learning design, and other special interest groups are part of that. We are learning design special interest group, and we are four people leading this special interest group. So I have Leanne with me. Hi, Leanne. And she is assistant professor at La Trobe. Myself, we have Keith Haggett, who is a senior lecturer at UTS, and we have Kate Michelle, who is from Melbourne University. She is senior learning designer, and she'll be joining us soon as well. So what we do as a part of Learning Design Special Interest Group is we have some regular activities and some activities that we take up every year, which may differ every year, such as hackathon. So we are doing hackathon for last 2 years, which is a kind of like hands-on learning design webinars. So we have some online, and then we have face-to-face. So this year we are planning that as well. I also wanted to mention AskILite 2024 conference, which is going to be in Melbourne this year between 1st and 4th of December, which is a fully hybrid conference, and you can read on the slide the theme. And we can, it's still time. I think expression of interest for so call for papers is out, Leanne, is that right? And no, not yet.
I haven't seen anything come through yet, but I might be wrong.
But it will be soon, and around July it will be like they close it. So you're welcome to kind of go through and have a look and participate. Learning Design Special Interest Group is all the communications are delivered through LinkedIn group so that it is accessible for everyone. And so I have on screen the our LinkedIn group QR code, and as well as the activities or things that we do with that. We post our recordings there. We advertise our webinars there. Sharing practices. Anybody who is part of this group will be able to see all the posts and also post, and we also post job opportunities as we get through. So today, now this is most important part. We have Maria with us, so I'll introduce her. Maria is assistant professor in educational innovation and research at the University of Central Lancashire, which is called UC, so UCLan in short, at Cyprus. She is currently working on two projects. One is ELNE, focusing on shaping policy in educational leadership and in Europe through developing collaborative learning communities. And the second project that she is working on is higher education for industry. So I will let Maria talk about this project briefly in the beginning of this presentation. She's also leading the professional development programs for the university teachers at her university, which aims to promote the reward and excellence in teaching by enabling participants become a member of advanced HE. So as we have in Australia, Maria, we have most of the institution have advanced HE fellowship programs that we run in our institution, and we encourage people to get that fellowship. So I'm glad to hear that you are doing that. Maria has previously worked and studied in UK, Australia, and Greece, and based in world-leading institutions and conducted research in different areas. So today she will be presenting on she will be discussing her work around development of pedagogically informed higher education and with interdisciplinary team and dialogical approach practiced in her university. So over to you, Maria, and welcome and thank you for your time, because it's like early in the morning at your place. Yes.
Yes, the time is fine. Thank you so much for the kind introduction and for the invitation. I'm grateful for given this opportunity to discuss what we are doing. And I'm going to keep it shorter than the 40 minutes initially announced, because I really value the discussion that may emerge, especially since you mentioned that you already use the same system to promote professional development across staff in your institutions. So I believe now I should be sharing my screen, and I'll start with it. Just to confirm that you see the slides okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay. So I'm located in Cyprus, which is more than 30,000 kilometers away from Australia. This is a very, very small country, only 9,000 square meters. It is located next to Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and Greece is on the other side. My university is called UCLan Cyprus, and correct is Lancashire in it, because it has links with the mother university in the UK. And well, this is the reason that we are a bit more advanced in professional development for university teachers than the rest of the universities in Cyprus and Greece, because we follow the UK PSF, which is now changing, as you are all aware of. So yes, it's a requirement for our staff to follow this route. So a bit far away, and we see the challenges we face, and we can make comparisons to what you have down in your area. So there is a huge change in Europe lately with regard to higher education. We have 850,000 enterprises as part of the EU education sector. It employs almost 2.5 billion people, and the profit it generates over 65 billion euros. So this means a lot to universities, and especially for Cyprus. The value-added economy, it's 2.3%. So you can imagine why we have so much interest in keeping people really having an advantage and ahead of everything, and as part of all these developments. And maybe you have heard about the UK's demise in recruiting international students, which is down to 30%, unfortunately. And you can see why Europe is now booming when it comes to education. At the same time, we have the challenges that still that they don't really meet the need of the employers. Knowledge is less valued by the industry. The transfer of the so-called soft skills, which are not soft at all, and as we all agree, they are very difficult to transfer. Collaboration, leadership, coaching, these are very difficult to teach at university. And there is a great need for continuous professional development for all, including the university teachers, the university professors. And of course, the overall pressures we all feel, globalizations, the changes in societies, and uses of technology. Academics have the pressure to enroll large cohorts. At the same time, they need to be accountable. And there has been some research about the fact that they receive less state funding. And this, of course, relates to the need to prove accountability. There is the pressure to respond to learner outcomes. We are all aware also of the race for metrics and reputation for research. And at the same time, they need to develop as individuals, as professionals, and also keep their own departments and groups being developing at the same time. So a lot of pressures from for the staff in higher education. So this takes us to the real need to have academic teachers being accountable, being excellent teachers, being responsible to promote other people's leadership and learning, and not just their students, but also their staff. So as I mentioned before, we have the links with UK university, and therefore we follow the UK Professional Standards Framework, which I'm aware, I suppose you are already aware of this being changing. I suppose it all started from your geographical area with critiques of it being too narrow and too British-based, and the need to expand. But anyway, we haven't started implementing the new framework yet, so I will refer to the old one. On top of the UK PSF, we have the local quality assurance demands. Although we have links with the UK, we are a Cypriot university, and we have a local quality assurance group, which is highly, how can I say that? It's really looking into all the universities, trying to ensure quality and making sure that everything is done up to standards. And they're quite stringent. For many reasons, because of competition, because the country is a small place, they are doing a good job making sure everything is done properly. And one of their requirements is that everybody's teaching higher education to have some kind of certification of teaching competence. So, needless to say much on this UK PSF. If there are some questions that we can clear up later, just to remind ourselves of the need to comply with all these areas of activity, which could be also a bit artificial. But let's agree that it's all about creating a convivial environment for learners, considering everything that relates to the core knowledge in which our modules as academics are delivered. So focusing on how content is being used in order to be accessible to students. And of course, everything that has to do with promoting equality of opportunity and taking care of everything else that's happening in the broader society and relates to our courses and modules. So we have the following questions that we support academic staff to focus. And of course, these come from the Higher Education Academy, which is also now known as Advanced AG. And as I mentioned earlier, the aim is to become qualified university teachers, accredited university teachers, and this means becoming a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. And in order to become a fellow, you need to meet all the criteria described at the UK PSF. That is, of course, the first step of becoming an associate fellow, which means meeting at least 2 of the criteria from each area, but the spirit is the same, to consider what you do in your daily practice as an academic, why you are doing it, and what impact this has in your students. So we encourage colleagues to think about the processes they follow, what exactly do they do, what they do in order to ensure that these are successful. And of course, top priority here for most is to engage students, to make them fully stimulated and drawn into the learning process. And then it's considering what this means for students. What is the impact of what an academic does in their daily life as teachers on student learning? What effect this has? And finally is the professional activities people have been engaging over a period of time. And here is where webinars have really saved most academics' life, because they can, at the end of a very, very busy day, just consider key issues for themselves as teaching professionals. So they are given the opportunity to listen to ideas and get engaged with research happening anywhere in the world. So it's not, of course, enough to say what you do in order to develop yourself professionally, but what this informs what you do with your students. And we have a piece where people choose a specific element of teaching, they reflect on it. And this needs to be a very, very concrete example of how they meet the areas on the framework, comprising of the activities, the core knowledge, and the professional values. Another tool we use is the teaching observation scheme, where all academics, everybody does that, including myself, we observe each other's teaching, we discuss it, we take suggestions for improvement, we celebrate the good things that are happening in our classroom, and this happens really well in our institution. So, as I said, the emphasis is what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and what is the impact on the students. So the data we work with are around 20 professional development reflective accounts, and the people that are engaged in the process. Currently, we have in the last 5 years that I have been working with this scheme, we have 15 people being successful in obtaining fellowship, which is a good number considering the size of the university and what is happening. So our questions are focusing on how they research their practice, what they do in order to research their practice, how they demonstrate continuous professional development, and what kinds of design when it comes to what we do as a group, as a community, enable these processes, what we do, because it's a collaborative effort, what we do in order for this thinking to emerge. I have to say that I have been quite cautious with collecting distilled examples of data. I haven't done this yet because we are a small place where research data is being research data collection is not something that can happen very easily. Everybody is encouraged to do their research without really collecting data and involving real people in their research. So this is something that I'm looking to do in the future, in the near future, once the effort with colleagues obtaining status is on a better progress. And of course, we have ethics committees which grant access based on what everybody's doing. So because I didn't want to interrupt colleagues in their journey to become accredited as yet, I didn't really distill any data, but I'm working through my experience with what I do. So it's a research journey in relation to what I do as my role as developing people in their continuous professional development approach.
So
And
Maria,
of course, much experience.
can I ask you a question? So many of the people probably here are professional staff. So how do you get them? So academic staff, yes, they can say that, okay, I taught this course and this is the student evaluation and this is the evidence of how successfully I did this and that. But professional staff, what do you do to encourage, not encourage, but like collect the evidence for professional staff for a fellowship? Because I think that many of the staff here will be professional staff, and it will be very relevant for them to know what are the kind of evidence that they can collect while they're working.
Yes, so the kind of evidence they can collect is not something that they have found problems with. We have the MFQs, that's the module feedback questionnaire, that students send feedback there with suggestions and some comments. So most of our staff find some valuable and worthwhile comments from there. And another way to showcase is the results. So it's possible to show from students' journey that somebody may have started not really strongly and submitted some work which wasn't excellent, and then via the design of the module, maybe the students submitted some preliminary draft according to the design of the module, and then they receive feedback and improved their final assignment. So this is another way to show evidence of good results in competence. Another thing could be the numbers in recruiting, in enlarging your course. And of course is the the a kind of testimonials that they can collect from other people. But of course, for this to happen, there needs to be some kind of community. And this takes us to the next of this presentation, where this is actually what goes behind the design for the development of this initiative. So this is really the heart of what we are doing, orchestrating activities we can learn, which can lead colleagues to develop some knowledge which is related to their professional development. What kind of knowledge is that? Is knowing how to teach, getting through reflection, identifying how they can improve their teaching through reflection. And of course, this is a very, very difficult task because we have very busy people, we have diverse people, and of course, this is something that needs to be done very, very carefully. So we regard that what you can see here are our practices that form the learning design, which make things happen. Of course, the initiative is becoming a fellow and using the PSF, but this can work very much against us because obviously people don't always want to follow directives. They want to do things that mean a lot for themselves as professionals. So one thing that's happening is mentoring between mentor and academics. So, and of course, this involves a lot of work, setting up the relationship, making sure there is trust, asking the right questions, supporting people, making people feel comfortable so that they can take learnings out of what they do. As we all know, most things we learn when things might be difficult, when we need to spend too much time to achieve something. So it takes some time to develop that trust. And then it's the collaborative discussions. So this is something that happens a lot among people who can have a sort of a collegial relationship, and maybe between people who are new into a course as early career lecturers, and they need somebody to help them find their way. And this could be often the course leader, because of course they have a vested interest and pressure from everywhere for the course to do well and the students to be enjoying the course and learning a lot and finding it meaningful. So this happens to a great extent, but at the same time, it's one of the biggest problems to let people do that in the context of becoming a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Because yes, you have the discussions when you want to make your module work, but when you put your application forward to become a fellow, then maybe you are less willing to share with a group, with your group, what you are doing, and why, and how you support your case. But I have seen that in the groups where there was this kind of trust, and where people did other professional activities together, they taught the same course perhaps, they had a long-lasting professional relationship, they did research together. So in those groups, people really they were successful in getting their fellowship. and of course enjoying the process and getting value in terms of their own teaching. Whereas this wasn't the case in other groups. The teaching observations were a basis for those discussions. We had some pedagogical theory as a base for people to use in order to make their own meanings of how they teach their topic. And of course, some practices on how to research your own teaching, which again, this is another not easy task, because you have academics from different disciplines and teaching is different. Of course, this can be a strength because they can exchange ideas and get examples, get something that somebody else use in their area and adapt it to their own, which is really worthwhile. But as you can see, sometimes there are the universities and the discipline silos that stop us from that. So looking into past work from the development of teachers at the secondary level, we have seen that reflection is a powerful tool and helps participants to really go deeply into what they are experiencing in their practice, connected with the theory and some literature, and try to explain things. And this helps them to formulate their personal theory of teaching. So in some of the early work we do with the early career lecturers, we do ask them really to develop their personal theory of teaching, and that helps them a lot to start their own way into what they want to do with their students. So we have seen out of all this anecdotal evidence from the mentoring and also from reviewing applications that successful ones are the ones who do this high level of reflection. But for all of this to happen, and for all of this to really find substance, is the emergence of the learning community, and we have argued for this a lot, and especially in places where we don't all come from the field of education of all relevant fields, then we need to put a case for learning communities and why they need to exist, and why we want them to flourish, and why one needs to invest time and put effort for them to emerge. So we try to make everybody see that there is a very, very strong link between learning community and knowledge. That knowledge doesn't just happen, doesn't just develop in one's head, independent from everything else that is going on. And we believe in the emphasis of the relations, of the contributions of people coming together, and the kind of stimulus we can all give to each other in order to think more deeply and produce knowledge that is worthwhile and relevant to us and to the broader community. So the fact that the universities have now realized that they cannot exist on their own, and they have all these pressures from all environments, maybe makes people more prone to appreciating developing these communities. So having this need to make people accredited, which can sound like a kind of process that comes from above and it's more bureaucratic. We try to see how we can promote these values as part of a leadership approach in our community. So what we try to do in the environment, in the space we create for our academics, is to give them access. Give them access to mentors, give them access to each other, give them access to materials developed in our university at UCLan Cyprus, but also at the mother university, where the one in the UK, UCLan UK, where there are resources and people can also find value in talking to a larger number of colleagues. Some people prefer to have mentors from a discipline which is nearer to them, to their own discipline, but some others don't. Some others prefer to have to be mentored by people who know them, or people who know the process of becoming a fellow better because of the involvement they had over the years. The design of this qualification route process, if you see it as a learning process, then it doesn't really make you feel that you have things imposed and a specific curriculum to follow, but it allows everybody to research their practice through focusing on those areas they want to, and they feel that they are valuable, and help them solve the specific problems they have in their class. So for some, this might be engaging students. For others, colleagues, this might be linking theory and practice. For others, this might be creating links with industry, because what they do with students relates with industry and relates with practice and real work out there in the various workplace settings in which they have to link their teaching. So everybody deals with a different issue, and it's important to allow people to identify what is distinct in their learning. Transparency. This is an area where we had some difficulty, because technology has proven to be a virtue or a problem. It has been a virtue during COVID, where also maybe people could have more time because of the isolation, because of the fact that I did not spend too much time in commuting. So yes, in that case, technology has helped us to have all the transparent, everything transparent in the process. But at the same time, technology sometimes creates issues in the fact that people come together through technology, but in reality, they don't. The important thing is that people can have access to things and what's going on, and at the same time develop an understanding of what they need in order to become a competent academic and competent teacher, with all that this entails in a university. So we have found that this, in a way, contradicts past research that people just do it for the accreditation and it doesn't really matter much. So yes, that is the incentive, that's why they do it, but there are some gains out of it. People get into reflection. Academics can take time and see what they do. They feel more empowered because this meets some personal goals. Their profile is raised, And they can also get out of their box, get out of the silos, because they can discuss things with peers. So it's an incentive to question what you do and seek answers from your own reflective and autonomous processes, but mostly from discussing with others.
So,
yes.
Do you, I think I'm saying like questions that is relevant to what you are saying. So is it okay if we take a couple of questions first?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Kate has a question, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be great, I guess, if there were, I'd just love to see if you had them, some examples of what this might look like in practice. Especially, I guess also, I'll start with that. And then the other is, I guess, how this might translate to people who might be in non-academic roles.
Okay, well, I will answer the second question first. We haven't yet in our institution worked on the development of the people who are in not academic roles. We are looking to do it in the future years. I'm not in relation to the first question, I can't show you any concrete examples as yet, because I'm very strict with myself. I haven't asked for permissions yet for that from my colleagues. I'm sure they will give me permissions, but I want to do it right. This project is a new project. It's a new research project of mine. I put my effort in making things happen first and having people being accredited, but I have so much being involved with that process. I have seen so many applications, some failing, some succeeding. I have reviewed so many applications that I can see that it's all about helping people identifying concrete examples of their success, being able to communicate what they do clearly, and then theorizing out of that. And there are a lot of examples, and I hope to be able to share in future presentations and in submissions to journals. So the challenges for that process have been many. So first of all is the heavy workload and the multifaceted roles that we face as academics. We face lots of pressures, as everybody understands. It's a role that requires too many things, being a researcher at the same time, being a teacher, being a content developer. It's too much, meeting everybody's needs, meeting people's needs. Everybody's busy. Academia is a very, very competitive, highly competitive environment. The next point is how people perceive CPD, what people think of their own professional development. Some people just don't see the standards posed by the UK PSF as important enough to focus. They are content that they are successful teachers and students enjoy their classes and things are happening and everything is well, which of course is a bit dangerous to think in your own way. We need to acknowledge the dryness and the artificial nature of the UK PSF. And this discussion of producing an end product by getting the fellowship just because you adhere to some standards and you know how to play the game, whereas at the same time you need to make sure you make an authentic examination of your practice. Excuse me. So one is people's being lying between the two, how to get over the artificial nature of this tool in order to make something which is meaningful for everybody as a teacher and make people's lives better, both teachers and students in class. The other interesting issue is the disciplinary silos. And you could see how those colleagues who had some background knowledge of social theory, or they had ingrained reflective practices in their own thinking, how they could very easily adapt and they could very easily work on the needs of this requirement. Also, people from areas which totally disregard the UK PSF and the fellowship qualification. Then is the development of the online community, again with question mark, because that wasn't as hard to develop considering the differences. Because if we can think of the examples we have of online communities and the knowledge you have developed from that is from students, and students are relatively easier to kind of coach and nurture and help them work as part of a community, in contrast to the professional academics would come from different directions, and people who have chosen this kind of profession because it's a profession that allows you freedom and independence, and you really want to work with your own pace. So setting up communities wasn't easy, but it was achievable and it happened. Setting up online communities was difficult. It was very difficult. It's a different thing to have access to online materials. That's good. Everybody wants that, but it's very difficult to develop an online community because academics can be in different places at the same time. They can just be in different online environments. But for continuous professional development, you don't want just another space. You want dedication. You want them there. So I don't think this worked a lot. The other challenge, of course, is the discussion, the attempt to link theory and practice, and something which is a problem, but it's last on my list. It's the lack of trust, which always happens when you have to delve deeply into what you do as a professional. But then this was alleviated by all these attempts to set up a community. But it is still something that one is to be aware of. So all this work has been informed by other work done on setting up communities as knowledge building structures. There is a study on the same issue, release continuous professional development, but seen from a different perspective, on the perspective of leadership, that I'm trying to publish. And then it's another study I did on the development of researchers as part of online communities, which again, these researchers were academics working on their doctoral program study. So yes, we have evidence of knowledge building structures, and this is what ideally we would like to achieve, but it's hard for the reasons found earlier.
So Maria,
Sorry.
there is a comment, and I think it's really relevant to discuss it here because it's like 10 minutes and people started getting to go to the other meetings and all. Kylie mentions that online communities, when we say it works or it doesn't work, it's a bit tricky question because online communities, some of the people who are in remote, isolated, maybe rural areas, that is the only way that they can engage. I think it may be only way for them to participate. So that's an accessibility issue that have you or did you have anything to say about like how you address that?
Yes, it's of course. Thank you for posing that. Thank you for saying that, because I said at the beginning that I thought that we had some similarities and some differences between us in what we do. And I remember when I was studying distance learning, then it was the case where you had places where the nearest train station was 200 kilometers from people's location, correct? So this means that there are areas where people cannot really meet, and the online is the only way for a community to emerge. And this is where you can see how this wonderfully can bring people together, which is something that we have difficulty because people are working closely. They don't have time, but they are very near, so they can exchange some interesting stuff in 5 minutes just because they met, and they're always with people around, people, like-minded people, and they never have the time to go and participate in an online community. So this reinforces the fact that these online communities are so valuable for people who cannot be located into an environment where they can find peers, like-minded individuals. So yes, this is one of the differences that I was expecting to find in relation to what you do when it comes to professional development. So I'm coming to a close, and I think that's the time to answer questions rather than me speaking over this.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this distance element when it comes to community.
So, okay.
No, I'm okay. All right. Leanne's put one in the end. We've got 5 minutes left, so I'm conscious that people may need to go. So I can. Did you want to quickly wrap up your conclusion, Maria? And we can read out the one from Leanne in the chat. Is that the best option?
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We can agree that we need communities of people, of colleagues, academics coming together, promote dialogue, collaboration. So how you do it depends on where you are and how the proximity of the people working towards the goals supported with the communities. In our case, this happened mostly face-to-face, but the main reason was because of the nature of the tasks academic need to do every day. We thought that the way to engage these people would be to bring them together face to face. It just didn't work when we tried to do it online. People just did it when they were driving. People just did it when they were preparing for their classes. So they would be engaged in other online communities at the same time that they would be, well, maybe you can say that synchronous online didn't work, but we could try something else. We can see examples of where this worked, where we had interdisciplinary teams or teams based around the same discipline. We had success in both areas. Mentoring was highly successful, and the dialogue happening between the mentor and mentee and between mentees themselves. We can see a procedural process. Some people came senior fellows. And the content of the discussions had to do with curriculum design issues focused around people's knowledge structures, particular discipline knowledge structures. For example, how they could use the specific topic and break it down. It focuses on assessment, on quality assurance, the indicators of quality assurance that we had to meet for our university and for our evaluators, and also the linkages to the core professional values communicated by the UK PSF. So these are the learnings out of it.
Thanks. Thank you, Maria. I believe we're okay for the chat. I'm conscious it's 2 minutes. Leanne, could everybody please thank Maria where you can, whether like this or in the chat. Leanne, I'll pass it to you. Did you want to wrap up?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Kate. And thank you, Maria, for giving your gracious time to share your thoughts about building capacity, and also genuinely, authentically with your lived experiences as well, talking about the need for dialogue and mentoring and, supporting each other in our development as we go further up across academia and across different professional groups as well. I mean, you didn't mention specifically the third space, but I think it's in there as well indirectly. And I think it's an area that we are keen. A lot of our members are in that third space as well, looking at ways that we can build our growth and career growth going forward. And you mentioned the area of online community, and I think we talk a lot about that with student communities and sense of belonging, etc. And I think your area and focus, bringing it back to colleagues and staff and building this sense of community, whether it's blended or face-to-face, but it also looks at inclusivity as well across different colleagues. I think that's something that, for me, it's kind of hit a mark to actually reflect about, building that sense of connection with other colleagues as well online, and how a strong community or what that looks like could actually help leverage of our group or community, where we can build off and work with each other to build our own capacities going forward as well. So that's fantastic. I know it's hit the mark at 5 o'clock. Again, I would like to thank Maria and thank everyone for their time today as well. We look forward to seeing everyone at the next session in May. We have Dr. Deb Diani, Academic Lead, Digital Learning Initiatives from Charles Darwin University, presenting. His focus topic is on digital critical student partnership in learning design, providing an example of his Australian first Indigenous student partnership program that focuses on learning design as well. So looking forward to that session in our May session. But once again, thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.